The man said, you know, this morning.
Yes, stomach problems.
Still have him in on the mic? On the mic?
No, before.
No.
Oh,
No, we don't know. You don't know what you share with the target. I'll be 2 seconds in front of I think Johnson got Alman Mill.
It's in the 40 now. This one is a little dark. Yeah, because this was high.
Because of the morning is late.
It's like different.
And the way they put to squeezing them through there and bounce them off the ceiling.
I don't put them on it. I don't put international theater. I came in at the beginning, and I go home.
How long we plan to go?
2 hours.
2 hours.
Maximum.
Ideas to management and everything.
How long?
Oh, good man, to us to like.
Got 4 people.
An hour.
Oh, yeah.
They go, oh no.
Okay, so you each hour.
If
I go over, I go over.
50 minutes.
Receiving calls.
So cool. Before somebody anything.
Easy moment on beverage.
Me alone is around 2 hours. You live for hours,
Yeah, I was plenty, yeah.
When 4 people.
4.5.
Yeah.
It's 4,
That depends on what you're saying.
Yeah, what's your favorite?
Like I was saying, we should try to limit what we have to
Maybe
Maybe.
questions, you know.
right.
So you could elaborate on them so you could take a little time. Yeah.
So
Maybe
we're talking about our job in an hour.
Right? Probably hour and a half to.
for each
Yeah. To maximum.
You'll be surprised. Don't think that we're going to use it. Or
Like so.
This is for conversation with the kid of language.
Would you might run into two, eh?
Click right here.
Could you just
Hey?
comment it to me?
Okay, checking on the levels.
Yeah.
Alright, so far so good. Is there anything I can do with the light though? Because it's really, really bright.
If I did, I could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lightness.
Unless I change my position.
Oh,
Probably turn around. If I turn like a little bit, would that affect?
Yeah. Alright, so we're going to start in 2 minutes, eh? Could you just start again here?
Hey? Alright, check in, good. Yeah, well, it's on. Better? Yeah, alright. Alright.
Align with the logo, make sure you have the whole figure and then we go start the video.
Say that again?
Align with the logo, say forward voice, wrong to the top, right? And then I'll just make sure you come on the pages and then we start the video.
Table chat.
Probably signal me.
Yeah, we're good.
Table chat.
Just see the outline.
Okay. Yeah.
Probably one shot here, don't start before we start.
Want to you good?
No problem.
Library.
It's Monty. Yeah.
Alright, so good to go?
No, I'll tell you.
Hold on.
I like that idea.
So I'm going to share that like one news and some other thing. Pages. Ready?
Good night, good night, good night. Let me say good night. Special good night to those of you here with us in the audience or live audience, those of you who are viewing online. Let me say welcome to you. A pleasant night as we make our second stop, as we commemorate with activities marking our 40th anniversary. The Sion Hill Euphonium Steel Orchestra. 40 years, quite an achievement, and it is quite fitting we're here tonight. Well, we're going to be featuring a live discussion, a round table chat. Don't mind the reality that the tables are rectangular in shape. Nonetheless, you get the idea. But we're going to take you through 40 years, 4 decades. We're going to take you on a journey from whence we came, you know, some of the things that we went through over the years, over the decades, and where we are presently. All right, so let me say a special good night. Thank you for joining us, those of you who have been with the Sion Hill Euphonium Steel Orchestra from day one, going back to 1981. Those of you who have been there from the beginning, the early beginnings to present day, we appreciate you. Thanks for the support over the years. Those of you who are just getting to find out, those of you who just became members of the Steel Orchestra, welcome. Thanks for being part of the movement. And we for those of you who well, you tune in to us whether via Bay Hill News Network or STV online, go ahead and share the link, invite your friends, share with your friends, with your relatives, you know, well wishers, share it, get as many people involved, and we're gonna learn while we're gonna be entertained by some of the information that is shared. I have a ton load of questions. There are quite a number of things that I would like to find out for myself, and I am joined by quite an esteemed panelist tonight in the form of Chairman Warren Boomy Knights. There's also one of the founding members, David Darky Williams, another founding member, Earl Carver Bennett, as well as the captain of the Sion Hill Euphonium Steel Orchestra, Tilal Webb. Let me say good night once again. Welcome to our round table talk. Good night to those of you in the audience, those of you online, and good night to the panelists. Good night, gentlemen.
Good night.
And welcome. It's a pleasure having you here. I am thinking that we would begin with a word of prayer, and we'll ask Kaba to lead us in a short word of prayer.
Let's stand. Let's pray. Father and God, you are worthy of thanks. We exalt your name. Father, I invite you into our presence this evening. Father, as we commemorate our 40th anniversary as a steel orchestra, our ruby anniversary, I ask for your divine intervention into this proceeding. Father, give us clarity of thought. Let our meeting be civil, productive, and this round table will done to the benefit of all who are in the audience, wherever they are, in cyberspace or in-house in the audience. Father, we thank you for bringing Simon this far. And we know with your mercy we will go forward. At the end of this session, Father, we ask for guiding mercy. Put your guardian angels over us as we travel towards our destination safely. I ask all these mercies in thy Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. All right, so for those of you who might not know, who might have missed it, tonight we're here as our second stop, the second activity, as we celebrate 40 years as a unit, 40 years as an organization, 40 years as the Sion Euphonium Steel Orchestra, officially established in 1981. I think it is safe to say that I am not old enough to say that I was around in any way. Probably was at toddler stage, but I've learned quite a number of different things over the years, being somewhat directly, indirectly associated with the Steel Orchestra. Sion Euphonium Steel Orchestra, dedicated to uplifting the standard of steel pan music, not only here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, across the region and far-reaching to the diaspora. Have made significant strides even at the level of community building. Even as it relates to the academia, even as it relates to sports, significant contributions made at the community level over the years. But to begin, I think it would be best if we go right back to day one. And before we get there, if for persons who don't know, if we could have a brief introduction of our panelists, maybe a little one-liner, let us know who you are and your role as part of the Steel Orchestra. We'll start there and then we'll go into a brief history of the Euphonium. I guess we're going to start with Tilal and we go down.
My name is Tilal Webb. I'm the captain and arranger of the Sion Euphonium Steel Orchestra for the last 10 to 12 years or so, basically.
Daki, no stranger to culture here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, David Williams.
Thank you. My name is David Williams. Everybody know me as Daki. So I have even adopted the name as part of my formal name. So I am actually David Daki Williams now. I was one of the founding members, actually the chair of the committee that was set up to form the Sion Euphonium Steel Orchestra, and glad to be here with the band celebrating.
Okay, my name is Warren Boomy Knights. I am the chairman, manager of the Sion Euphonium Steel Orchestra, and I am celebrating 30 years as the leader of the organization. I look forward to this celebration, this grand celebration, and I hope the public can join us in this great celebration.
I am Earl Cava Bennett. You can see Cava has overtaken my government name and official name. Some people they don't know who you're talking about. Anyway, I'm a founding member of the Sion Euphonium Steel Orchestra Inc. I joined that steel orchestra even before it came into being, around 18 years old when I was still a student at grammar school. In fact, I was one of the first reps for the steel band to the bigger body, the Sion Hill Sports and Cultural Club. I invite persons to share the link. Even your enemies, pick them up. Even there are persons, I saw there are some people in Pluto who like fun, so they probably tune in as well. So just tune in because we have a historical journey of the Sion Euphonium Steel Orchestra. 40 years and strong and going. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our panelists for tonight, once again, Chairman Warren Boomy Knights, David Darky Williams, founding member, another founding member, Earl Cabba Bennett, as well as Tilal Webb, captain of the Sion Euphonium Steel Orchestra. You know, there are sayings, there are different narratives in all kind of form and fashion that would say to us in order to have a better understanding as to where we're going. It is very imperative, very much imperative that we know, we fully understand where we're coming from. And I'd like for us to go there next. Let's go back, 1981. How did it all begin? I mean, who were the major players? Who were the visionaries? Who made all of this happen 40 years after we're here to celebrate? Going back to day one, how did it all begin? I guess Darky, you could get him all rolling, Darky.
Okay. It actually started slightly before 1981 when Sion Hill Club met and decided that it's time the community start looking at culture. You had this environment, and what I hope from what I am going to say here as this introduction, that it will set the tone, the feeling of the environment into which Sion Hill Euphonium was about to step into. Everything was happening great in Sion Hill as far as sports was concerned. I mean, the community was dominant. Everything literally that they put their hands to, that they became involved in, was a success. And so you had this golden village with all these outstanding sportsmen and sportswomen continuing to do well. You had the people like Sleeper and Imitator and Scorcher and Caldrick Fobbs and those outstanding Calypsonians. And you had Lally Melvin and Owen Ralph, and of course the boss himself, Roy Ralph, emanating out of Sion Hill doing mass. So where is that other aspect of the culture that we need to see? When we were growing up as little boys, there was a steel band in Sion Hill who we simply called Juicy, because apparently Juicy, the soft drink, was a supporter of that band in whatever way they were supporting. So people wanted the resurgence of the Juicy spirit, and to get that you had to have a steel band. So the same successful sports club said, okay, let us depart into some cultural field. And the first thing that came up for discussion was to begin a steel band. And so a committee was set up, chaired by myself, Arthur Williams as the parliamentary representative of the area, and that time Sion Hill was a part of the West St. George constituency. Mr. Williams, he owned boats and he used drums to hold the fuel and so on that moved his boats around. And as a representative, he found it wise that he have an input into this early process. And so he donated 41 drums. And I think Cabba likes this piece with how one of those drums got to Sion Hill as a symbolic gesture. But the committee got together in 1978. We had the drums. 1979, Soufre Europe before we could get anywhere. There were steel band strikes in Trinidad, and even before Sion Hill Euphonium get started in 1980, there was also the local steel band strike, and that delayed the onset of Sion Hill Euphonium for a year, and we saw its launching and the participation in its first panorama in 1981. So what was the thing that members of that beginning band wanted to achieve? Well, of course, we are celebrating part of it now. That is longevity, and to be able to do what the sports people in the community was doing, and that is to dominate steel band in St. Vincent. Took us a long time, and we would hear about some of those journeys, but I think we are on the way there now. I won't say we are there, but we are on the way, because domination means continued and continuing elevation of the art form. And well, I think I have created that kind of environment that Euphonium was coming into, and I'll pass.
Yeah, I think who would like to add some more? Kaba. I think Kaba, if you could as well, I know Darky touched on some like the challenges, the setbacks in the initial stages, but after you began, and things started rolling out, if you can highlight some of the challenges that you faced just after you in the early years, as a new unit, as a new entity, as a new organization, there must have been challenges, and how you overcame them.
Okay, I will deal with that, but I need to give a little background for us, because Darky gave us the introductory phases, the genesis, and it was quite intriguing. My association with the Sion Hill Steel Orchestra, at that time, it was not a band, it was not named Sion Hill Steel Orchestra. It was a group of desperate people from different backgrounds, meeting together. So after that was set in motion, what Darky spoke about, there was a group of guys in what we call village. And those are the days when we had cultural consciousness, and Bob Marley ruled the roost. So naturally, as young boys, we gravitated towards some activities that our moms and dads and other senior citizens did not appreciate. And I like to call some names. We had persons, and not call all of them by their actual name, because this is the thing with Sion Hill. Sion Hill is the king of nicknames. So that's why I say a lot of people just in that era, you do not know them by their first name, official names. But we had persons like Adrian Thompson, that is Kaka. We had Wayne Thompson, known as Jezai. We had Angus Correa Cupid, known as Isa. We had Joel Primus, Oboka, Rav Grant, Izum, Leroy Webby Webb, and a host of other persons. We found ourselves, after the idea of the steel band came, none of us are panics. We found ourselves liming together and doing those activities that weren't appreciated by the elders. What happened is that we used to do drumming and so on, and we migrated to a place named the Dowden Old House, which was actually abandoned. We decided we'll meet there, play our drums, do what young people do in those days. I don't have to elaborate. As I said, our moms and dads want to please. And we decided to pick up the influence of Bob Marley. We named that building Top Ranking. That building was to become the first headquarters of the Sion Euphonium Steel Orchestra. And that is exactly the place where we launched. You have to understand, we were just a group. Sion Hill Club, with all their good intentions, and the then President Mr. Field Lewis alluded that this morning the funds were difficult to come by. So what had to happen? Darky didn't say this. Darky was actually the first secretary. At that time he was the vice president, that it is not so Darky, of the club, of the bigger club, and Alfred Triple Gordon, because of his expertise, was named captain and arranger, because he's the only person in the band. So all those days, and I was named assistant secretary. So what we did, we wrote letters to the pants of the steel orchestra. Mr. of the pants said we need to give these magnificent orchestras their rightful place.
Yeah.
The steel orchestra in those days, potential, starlit 20th century, will come regularly to our panyard, and I must say this, we had the best block holes in the length of the Simmons. People all over would gravitate towards the silent panyard top ranking, and that's how we raised our funds. That's how we raised our funds until eventually we got the band. And an important person in this, an important cop, a person was a fixture, and we cannot forget him, and I need to pay homage to him here. Jimmy James, better known as T-Man. He was the #1 pan builder in Simmons and the Grenadines. So he built pans for all the steel orchestra, but he found his home at Top Rankin. So he became our resident pan builder and pan tuner. So we actually benefited by his presence.
And part-time arranger.
Part-time arranger. That's another story. Right? So we fast forward now, and we decided to get the band. And I want you to understand the history. The history of the band, and that will tell you, of persons of a certain ilk. And you know how steel band persons were stigmatized. And we were stigmatized because of our activities. But we stuck and we demonstrated that we had the will, we had the means of establishing and creating the Sion Euphonium. But when the Sion Euphonium actually was launched, you had persons like football star, national midfield general, Osborne Sheen Millington, Francis Bamswelling. But let me put this in a framework. This has emerged from a place, and you will attest to this, when the pans were eventually built and they were in the panyard, every living pan, the section, had an owner. Everyone. So on a base, you had my very good friend, Glenford Knowledge Prescott, and his name was there, Knowledge. You had Webby name was there. You go to another place, you had Nicholas Kelly, Nicholas' name was there, and the double tenor. You had Dale, his name was there. Isaac Jezai, they all were excellent tenor players. I myself was a tenor player, but very early enough, I didn't realize I was a novice. So, the point I'm making is this, that anybody outside of that group was labeled an intruder. You could not dare come to that panyard and touch anybody's pan. You had to ask permission. So what you found is that we had a kind of cloistered society, because we were possessive. Right or wrong, we were possessive. But we saw the light, and we opened up, and we allowed other persons to come and play. And that's how Sion was done. Of course, one of the challenges was personalities. You had different personalities in that group. And if you understand group dynamics, if you don't know how to manage people, even the best of families, there are arguments, there are fallouts and so on. So we have to be able to manage that, because we have some persons who are quite temperamental. And I'm telling you, I use the word ignorant. And not ignorant in the sense that they didn't know anything, ignorant in the sense they were fast to hit. I'm telling you, when they disagree with you, but those guys put all that aside, even our differences, and ensure that signing Euphonium survive up to today. The monies, we work assiduously and relentlessly in raising monies. Every man jack did their part. So who was weak? In one area, in another area, they had their strength. I remember one time, we wanted to have an activity. And so everybody started to say, well, okay, why not have I felt like a blackout. And somebody blotted out. Somebody said, why not have a fair? And somebody blotted, why not have an atmosphere? And that person was Leroy Webby Webb. And everybody was laughing because, you know, I was high thinking, why not have an atmosphere? And of course, we had our atmosphere because we had atmosphere in the vineyard. Yeah, so, yeah, lots to talk about, but I don't want to have the show. So I said the natural chance about the personalities, monies, and I will allow other persons, unless you want to stick to that period, before you let Warren and Killer speak.
Well, I think so far so good.
Yeah.
So far so good. For those of you just joining us, remember, share the live, share the link. We're live on Bay Hill News Network as well as on STV online. Let me say a special good night to the extended family of Sion Hill. They have residents or former residents of Sion Hill spread across the globe, and I know that some of them are tuning in right now. Special good night to you. Thanks for joining us. Now, Bumi, probably you can come in here now. 40 years after, Daki touched on a bit of it in terms of the longevity as being one of the aims. You know, there's the upliftment of steel pan at the community level across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. What was envisioned back then, 40 years after? Would you say that that goal was achieved, or is still being achieved, is still being worked on? Where are we in terms of achieving what was set out from day one?
Well, really and truly, I don't know. I can't say for sure what goal they really had. I know for sure that everybody wanted to play pan, and they wanted to win, and they wanted Sion Hill Euphonium to go forward. But to say come in and meet a real goal as to where they want to go, I didn't know that at all. I basically tried to get in the early 80s, but as Cabell said, those days as a little boy, you can't go in. Well, something you can't even go by door, people. You just peep from afar and they run you. Go home, go meet your mother. You understand? At that time. And it is not until around 1988, somewhere around there, where they had finished doing Easter Pan Festival, and they did Carnival, I think, and as usual, after Carnival, they rest up everything. That is the members from before. As Cabell said, they are a group of guys who normally used to be together. They do everything. They play football. They smoke. I wouldn't hide that as the group of guys. Because they were Rastas. Cabell said they were emulating Bob Marley, and that was it. They basically had fun when they feel like, and they get a vibe up the road. They say, "Let me go in the panyard," and they go in the panyard and they play some music, and that was it. So I can't really attest to say I knew the goal where they going. But
as I guess we can consider you to be one of the longest serving chairman of the Sion Hill Euphonium. How has it been for you during your years as the chairmanship, and what are some of the things that you hope to see happening in years to come for Sion Hill?
How has it been? I can tell you it was very, very, very hard. I basically, as I said before, I started over there in 1988. Myself and a group of other guys, Terrence, Jobs, Buji, I think it's about 10 of us. And we went over there during the summer holidays, and we met T-Man there, as he was resident there. And he wanted to form a junior side because he figured the guys in them were not putting in enough into pan. But we started a little thing, but as usual, when them guys come back in, they say, boys, all you need to go so. Don't touch this pan here. Don't touch this one. This one is mine. You know? And sometimes when we go back the next day, meet the yard lock. Don't go in there. Then at times we would brave the storm and then jump through a window. And we go inside and do a little thing. And when they're up the hill and they hear pan, they come over. Lights out, nail up window, all kind of thing. We couldn't get in. So that was the situation for me in the beginning. But then we persevered, and we started practicing as a group. I think we came down to about only 3 of us when the guys came back in. And that is because those who were inside said, I would adopt this one and I would teach this one. So I believe Nico, he helped myself and Ban, and he helped us to learn to play the pan a little better. I had been exposed before, but he would have helped us going forward to mesh into the group itself. And one other, I think, was with us. And it so happened that Carnival was coming up, and we got a chance to go in, prepared to go for the bomb competition. And I believe at that bomb competition, the band suffered because they had many challenges. Didn't have a resident arranger. Money was lacking. Didn't get any, never had a sponsor to say. They never had any sort of assistance or structure at that time to get things going. All we know that Carnival time, the band players come in to practice. They would try to get an arranger to come in and help us. They would ask around or raise funds to get some t-shirts, and we come together and we go for panorama, and that's it. And after that, everything go back down. But I'm saying that because that's the genesis of my relationship over there. But going forward in Sion Euphonium now, going forward, we, myself, and Saka Muhammad, I would always call his name because he supported me. He was the secretary at the time. I became captain of the band in 1991. And going forward, we need to put things together, but we still had this little riff going on. Them guys holding on one side, and we trying to go forward to set goals to carry the band forward. And it was difficult breaking off. So to settle things, that is how I probably became the captain, because they had a lot of tense relationship between the guys them in the band. That is the senior guys I'm talking about. And I becoming they voted me as the captain going forward, and they used back Izum as the vice captain. That was one of the senior guys. So we decided to walk and go forward. But it was difficult because going forward, everybody had a say inside the band, and everybody did their own thing. And this young boy, teenager, come now and trying to bring some sort of structure was a serious challenge. And the big man look at me and say, but he can come and run this organization. But the thing is that in order to go forward at the time, I figured the best thing would have been to set some rules. And the basic ones, one by one, we put 2. We said no drinking, no smoking inside the panya. And if you reach late for practice, then you have to sit down on the bench there and wait till we allow you to come in. So those 3 basic rules we put down. And then as we started practicing and people come in late, they find themselves having to sit down, and because they're so proud, some would turn back and sit down on a bench and they would grumble and all manner of things they would say. And we persevered with that, with the rules, and more as we go on, more persons started to comply with the rules going forward. I can recall, as I said, I took over in 1991. We went to Panorama late. In 1992, we had a chance to go back to Panorama, and in 1993, we had Panorama, and the guys decided, they said, we really don't have any sponsor. We can't buy uniform. The pants are old. They needed tuning. The best thing to do is to rest them down and wait till next year. That was the talk throughout the band. And being the young captain, I said that I didn't come here to wait another year for Panorama. I come here to play pan, and I want this thing to go forward. And if you were telling me rest it down, I mean, if you can't do it now, then how are you going to be able to make it next year? So I said, well, the thing is, I am going forward. And the secretary, Zaka, said he's going with me, and a few of the others said that they're going forward with me. And some of the others left. They said they ain't going nowhere because we can't make it, we can't win, we can't compete. I said, well, I'm going forward. So whatever little we had to do, we asked a ranger, I think we asked Josiah to come in, and well, it was on credit because we didn't have the money to pay him up front. We a promise that we would pay you when we
Hopefully you win.
yeah, hopefully we get the prize money. Those days we know we were competing for just the appearance fee because we know we couldn't make. I think that year was probably one of the smallest year we went down. Yeah, but we still gathered some players. Some came back in when they saw that we were serious and actually going down. So we went down for Panorama, and I think that year we placed. We came second. Yes, and which was surprising to many of the others. So it kind of inspired some of the others, and some was too ashamed to come back while a few came back to assist, and then that was really the move for me, or the game changer in a sense at that time going forward. So you start to gain some respect in the organization as a young person leading, and the challenges continue in front of me, but we were able to go out now, get other people come on the executive, write letters, go out, although we continue the raising funds. We write letters to get assistance, and the people start to see the organization. But we tried in 1993, that was 1991, 1992, 1993, we tried to get this summer program going, because I realized that in order for continuity, then you must have a group of people to come in to carry the band forward. And each time we try to do that, them fellas would come back and say, hey, come off my pan, go so. We can't. Yeah, and that was the order of the day. It's not until 1995 Yes, when we were actually able to do our first summer program.
We'll touch on the summer program a little bit later. But the fact that you're on the youth, I think Tilal can come in here because Kaba highlighted it in terms of the heavy restrictions that were in place back then. You know, the over-possessiveness of some of the players and all of that. As a youth, you really couldn't come around with the intention of being part of the organization. But a lot of that has changed since then. I mean, present day, that is not the case. Still, the importance of the youth involvement at the Sion Euphonium Steel Orchestra.
Good night, everyone. The first thing I would say is that when I started in 1991,
At what age?
I was about, I think it's 12 or 11 or something across there. So actually, this year is 30 years since I played with the Sion Euphonium Steel Orchestra. 30 years. Out of 40, I played 30. I started in 1991. Like them guys would say, I came into the band in 1991 in a summer program where it wasn't a summer program. It was a program where the arranger then Alfred Tufood Garden, you know, some young boys in my age, and he said, come and just train out of some pan, start some pan, you know, and that's why I came into the band in 1991. That year we were going to Panama. I would have scrubbed 3 tenor pan, and I played none. Everyone have scrub, somebody come fit and say that's their pan.
When you say scrub meaning what?
Them time we had no chrome pan.
Sandpapers.
So just sandpaper and sand on the pan and it look shiny like a chrome, you know?
Right.
So I clean the pan make it look nice sometime, you understand? And you know, I have scrub 3 tenor pan and I ain't none. So I have scrub 1 man take a pencil on my pan. But anyhow, I persisted I really want to learn the pan and I keep my thing going, you know? And I keep practicing. I didn't play Panama that year, but I went to got my t-shirt, I went to the park with the band, was on stage, but I didn't play actual pan. But you know, as a youngster coming to Sion Euphonium, it was a bit difficult to get in, you know. But over the years, we have had some youth involvement in the band where the youths have been really carrying the band for the longest while. And like what Warren said before, we want to get the band to go forward in terms of, because people leave, people migrate all the time. So don't forget the band to go forward, get a program to get the youths involved so they could come in. Because when them guys left, I came in, and you know, other people came in after me, and then we start the summer program and get the youths more involved in it.
Okay, nice. Now, I guess we're going to go straight into the summer program. I think the figure that is being quoted is over 1,500 panists that have been tutored since the inception in 1995. That's what Bumi said. 1995 is when it officially got started. Over 1,500 panists tutored. You highlighted in terms of the main objectives behind the initiating of the summer program. Maybe we can share some of the success stories that would encourage. There's a whole lot of youngsters. We can highlight the importance of, and permit me to say this because a lot of people don't see, I don't understand, I don't give respect to that union, that marriage that can be forged, that link between music. We can say steel pan or playing of the pan, no, and academics. Usually most people would figure, well, if they want you to do good when it comes to academics, so you have to drop playing pan, playing music, you know. But a lot of people never saw the benefits that can be derived from creating that marriage. So maybe we could touch on that for a little bit. The summer program.
Well, after the first summer program started in 1995, I myself was a tutor because I went to a summer program myself at Iron's workshop in 1993, which was hosted by the YPL. So I came out of that and I came back into the band and became the band first in-house arranger. So I began to do the first summer program where people like see.
And Pest.
And Pest Lowen also was in the third part of it, yes, Pest Lowen, my good friend. And you had people like Nuxi, you have Aishika, to name a few. Then came out to that first summer program, and then it was a challenge for me in terms of being the first time doing a first summer program in my life, as a young arranger at the age of about 16, 17. But the thing is, I always tell my students, I had a saying in my junior band, where if you ain't pass for exams, short-term exams, you're not playing Panama. As an incentive to get the children to do good in the schoolwork also, and also inside Euphonium, we develop an art form where we don't try to humbug the children's schoolwork. When school going on, it's on the weekends only. And as carnival get closer, we get an exam finish. We go look more, and because we want children to do good in the exams also, and the school. But being myself, work with other schools, I taught Kingston Convent music for 3 years. I dealt with secondary school, Leo, Barley. So I always encourage the kids that the education come first. But you can balance it both. Because I myself went secondary school and played pan. So I wanted to balance the time properly. Where you have your schoolwork in the afternoon, I used to go my schoolwork first, and go to pan after. So I train the kids in a way that they can balance their schoolwork and play the pan that way in Sion Euphonium. And in Sion Euphonium, there are some top students who came out of our band and still in the band today. So most of my students went to high school actually. Kingston Convent High School, Grammar School, a lot of them. We have students who top combinations and them kind of thing before, and still doing well. So I always tell the parents, still help me to develop my schoolwork. That's kind of a bit slow and kind of shy and covered. And being still an art form now helped me to develop my get braver. Like Kaba would say, I was really shy. And by teaching steel pan, I get to meet more people, and talk more and get to open up myself more to other people. You understand? Yeah.
Okay. All right, Daki and Bumi Kaba, put it on your side, sharing on that particular issue. Because many homes, many families, many communities still being plagued by that mindset, especially by parents. Hopefully we can change it.
Because I want to alert people first, because research has shown emphatically that music aids in education, in academia. And earlier today, when we had the lunch, I mentioned Sarah Jackson. That's a young lady who came to the program.
Right.
And she's the recipient of a national scholarship. At an exhibition, a national scholarship. That's a 5-year fully paid scholarship. And there are other persons still I can speak about. But I want to we speak about game changer. But there's a particular game changer that we have never paid enough attention to. And that is a shy young man as a teenager. Because I want to give you the background. You heard Warren said in 1993, when they wanted to drink their two arms, get rid of Josiah, that is Stanison. After Kufur left the band, Josiah was the main arranger. And what happened is that Sion had to depend on outsiders to arrange, because Josiah came as an active member stylist. He was an active member stylist. I'm not saying this to denigrate him. I'm just stating fact. I'm not saying he didn't give his all. But he came there and he did what he had to do. And we suffered in a way, because we were wondering when will we get our own. And I remember being a member at the edge of the European movement, and they were having this arrangers workshop, until I was extremely shy person. And I coaxed him and said to him, I have seen how you catch the tunes them quickly. When other persons have to look down on the note, you seem to have an air. To cut a long story short, till I went to the program and emerged as an arranger. And that changed significantly. He will steadily progress, because Sion didn't have to wait anymore on an outsider. They have their own resident and a young, enthusiastic arranger, willing to do the work, willing to do the miles, and he did so. And we have seen the evidence today. So I think we ought to applaud and salute this young man, because he's still relatively young, because he has done well for Sion. and I would not allow that to pass. Right? Let me just take it, because this morning I didn't do it. Persons will notice the flyer advertising and promoting this particular program, and we have decided to change a little or tweak it. We have said, instead of round table talk, we said round table chat, because it's kind of conflicting with BC3's program. And I apologize this morning profusely for inadvertently inserting BC3 as the platform on our stream instead of STV online. Thank you, Steve, for being here with us. But to come back to the flyer. That flyer was done by a young lady by the name of Suzette Small Weeks, who resides in Ottawa, Canada, and who the Ordnance Committee has selected to be our representative in Canada. She's the person who did the flyer. In New York, we have a former player, a born and bred Sion in the person of Lenroy Goebbels Phillips. He's the person who will be dealing with in New York. So, but I want to, history is important, and I'll that coming up this year. Because I want to capture what we have to go through. Remember, we became a band officially when? The 4th of April 1981. Carnival in Simpson Grand in 1981 started when? In June. It was a June-July festival. Let's think about how a brand new band, how many months we had to prepare for first Panorama. Because we made a decision, once we launch, we were going to Panorama. The decision was made then, because in those days, not unlike now, you could have played a song outside of Simpson Grenadines and of yesteryear. Our talented, something enigmatic arranger, Tuffood and Captain Alfred Tuffood Gordon made this early on that we play one local song and we play Ethel. In those days, Blue Boy ruled the roost. Blue Boy had Ethel, he had all these, Rebecca, Soca Baptist, it was Blue Boy. So we had the privilege of doing Ethel immediately after lunch. And you're talking about challenging time, 3 months on you, man. But there was an intervention. Mr. Gordon went for an interview regarding Euphonium Steel Orchestra in participation in the 1981 Panorama. And he was asked a question, and he responded by saying that we believe in local, and Euphonium will be playing 2 local songs. That isn't me. And my God, he chose another local song. And those guys and ladies born the Midnight Oil. Persons will play us a stream plan for a month or 2 because of that decision. But you know what that demonstrated? The heart that group of players had. Irrespective to their shortcomings, they had strong heart, they had strong will. They were determined to do well. That is the spirit of Sion-Hillians. As I've always said, if you cut us, I want to be genuine, believe you me, our blood will be green and black. Just me and that. If you see red blood, then you know that is a fake Sion-Hillian. So we know how to distinguish it.
Bumi, Daki, anything you want to add?
Daki, shut up, guy, from this, because I'll do so Daki could do it.
The trauma, if I could use that word, that emanated from that challenge that Tuffood threw out to the members, ended because there were at least 3 nights of no sleep. That first Panorama for Sion-Euphonium, 3 solid nights. People would be leaving the Panyard at 6:30 the next morning, and maybe that was some form of permanent trauma that a lot of the young members ended up with. I know people who up to today have not recovered from that. From that. The thing is about the pressure of living up to the standards that is required of a Sion Hill person. Those standards that have been set by sportsmen and other entertainers, and these youngsters were asked to do that and try to emulate the more seasoned people, and that was not good for the band. Quite a few of the members of that first panorama never played another panorama again, because they didn't want to go through that kind of experience again. But Sion Hill Euphonium as an entity continued to do, in my opinion, to do the best they can. We had gone through several different captains, several different management structures, and none of it was working until around 1993, 94, maybe up to 95, when things started to really change, and the band was set on a path that has brought us to where we are now. It just happened so that that journey up to 1993 was with a particular set of persons, individuals, and from 1993 forward to where we are now, it's a different set of individuals making up the membership. People with a completely different mindset, people who were willing to put in the time and spread out the work so that things will be a little better, a little easier for them. And I think from 1993 coming forward, we are seeing not just better results from the band, but growth in terms of numbers and in terms of the capacity to actually use the instrument to make a little bit of money and bring some funds into the band. All of that has taken place after 1993. So the leadership going forward and the kinds of programs that the band initiated have a lot to do with that success. Not as huge as we would have liked it to be, but yeah.
Speaking about success, I'd like if we can go off now. Very competitive. Sion Hill Euphonium Steel Orchestra. Sion Hill and competition. Sion Hill Euphonium Steel Orchestra. And when it comes to competition, now just like in sports, whether it is cricket or netball or football or athletics, Sion Hill Euphonium has been a force to be reckoned with. Right? What would you say contributed to that dominance, that tower of strength that the Sion Hill Euphonium Steel Orchestra possess? What would that one thing be? I mean, from your own experience and what you've seen over the years, what would it be that contributed to that dominance?
I would think commitment of a different nature to what there was in the beginning. One of the first things, before we even get to the level of commitment, is the training. The training regime within Sion Hill Euphonium changed. That was a noticeable change. And when I say training, I'm not talking just about the summer program. and training the youngsters, even the active members of the band. There were times when there was special training organized for senior members as well as junior members. And that training, I think, we saw going down into the should I say the DNA of the players. It was a different feeling. It was a different kind of emotion when a training session is completed and people walk out and the kind of feeling, as opposed to in the early years after practice sessions we would hear arguments. Right? So that may be a simple change. Some people may take that as a simple change, but it was not a simple change. It was a huge change, because attitudes were more conducive now to the advancement of the music than it was in earlier times. So,
okay, I think mainly is the camaraderie and the fighting spirit of the players. When we reach a certain stage in the band, I realized that I was there for a purpose, and I, as the leader, must see my vision of where the organization is supposed to go come true, the players in the band. So they must carry my vision where we want to go. The thing was, winning is the end result, but you must prepare from start going forward, and we have to be different. And I learned that from emulating from leaders like Maury Millington and all those in different sports. Watching the commitment of these guys going forward and their vision coming true. His style, his and his talent and abilities came true. His players in football. And I use some of that same style within PAN. How I can move from here to here. We face a daunting challenge. We're coming up against a formidable force. Starlift was over 10, 12 years older than us. And in order to beat them, or come close to join with them, we have to build this fighting spirit that no matter what, we're going to take them down at some point. So, the summer program, we wanted our youths in the summer program, for one, when you're playing, to love what you're doing. So within the summer program itself, when the children are playing and they're learning that skill, I want to see you tapping your feet. You must let the music come through you. You must feel it. You must have a time in. You get that in you. Feel it. Play. You feel it. So when the practice finish, you created that vibe and you feel like you want to go back and play some more music. That is what we started, and we build this camaraderie, everybody together, loving one another, respecting one another, practicing as a team. Just tell them you can't do it alone. You playing tenor, you're soloist. You're not a band. So we have to do it together. Everybody must come together. Tenor, double second, cello, bass, everybody come together to make that oneness, that one song. And we have to sing clean, and we have to be better than what is out there. So we started giving them the exposure as they come through the program, and you feel the love for the music. Then we would organize different areas, we'd bring them outside, we'd carry them different places. You play, you feel that music within you. Get comfortable with it. So as you get comfortable with it, I say somebody can't enjoy what you're playing if you stand up straight. You have to show that you are enjoying it, and then let that vibe go to that person. You feel it, you see your passion coming through. And we see that come through with Rodney Small as an example. Because you see something he skin up his face when he playing, because of that foundation that we had within our band. You understand? Going forward, you must enjoy this thing here and transcend that to other people so that they would enjoy it. So, and we have to build the love and the togetherness. In order to continue the practice, in order to make people feel welcome and keep coming, then everybody have to be friends. If you're not talking to this person, leave it outside. Have no business inside in Euphonium. You understand? Everybody in here are part of a team, and we want you to play your hearts out, come together, and be able to get this team going forward. Any slackers, then you have to take a rest. We give you a little rest, cool off a while till you're ready to come back, and we get you going again. It is difficult, it was difficult to get things going, as Cabangam said before, because you have so much people with different personalities. And people dislike these things, like if you're managing an organization, only that we ain't paying people. And it is harder for us, because if a man come to work and you don't like what you do, you fire him. But when you come into the steel band now, a man misbehave and you like what you do, what are you going to do? So you have to find a way now to discipline somebody, but at the same time don't make him feel like an outcast, and find a way to get him back in, because we need each other to go forward. And that was some of the things that I instilled in the players. That is a part of the discipline going forward with the organization. You must be early, you must be on time, and when you come here to practice. You ain't come here to fool around, you ain't come to go on the phone, you ain't come here to play, you ain't come here to line. You come here to play pan. And if your parents trust us to take care of you, then we are responsible for you. You can't come to our practice and you go on lime outside. I tell you don't come back. I'll call your parents and tell your parents don't send you back because you ain't ready for pan. So we instill that discipline. You have to have that love, the camaraderie and the fighting spirit to go forward. And with that, we could always go forward. You would see silent euphonium players when they're outside. That vibe is always there. Other bands try to emulate it, but that is what we have, the vibe within the band. And once you have that vibe and you play your heart out and you play well together, then you would be able to produce the kind of music that people want to hear. Just pleasing. Yes.
Kaba, Tila.
I guess anything I say now will be redundant or superfluous because Warren has put it nicely. He has summarized it. And just to say this, if other bands put bottle what Sion has, you know, like KFC, how is a secret thing, and other successful businesses, Sion has a recipe that is unique to the band. And one of the pluses, because we have to do an analysis. Remember, 1979, around that time, you had a different era. Cultural upheaval, and you had persons being Rasta and being rebellious. A lot of them not academically inclined. Okay? So it's just person want to plan. One of the successes of Euphonium is capturing the youth. Because they are more malleable. They're easier to bend and train. The Bible says it. There's a portion of the Bible says it about bending and, so when they grew up. The Bible says it all. I'm not a biblical scholar, so I can't remember the entire thing. But the point is that they came in. What is also equally important is the structure then of Euphonium. But if you have persons are willing, but your structure is weak, the result will not be the same. Right. So what you have is a nexus, a marriage of good administration and willing students and good teachers, and a good teacher always is still well. So again, you must think of why the Captain Attila, because I know the impact. Yes. And people underestimate him, and people downplay the impact that he has had on Euphonium. And we need to give praise as praise is due. Yes. And as I say that, I'm going to segue into something that is dear to my heart. I'm passionate about it. Euphonium needs to have a wall of fame. We can have a hall of fame, we can have a wall of fame where we can homage and honor the pioneers and personal individuals and companies have contributed significantly to the development and promotion of Euphonium Steel Orchestra. As I speak now, Euphonium is not made up of players, of all players. We have persons in the audience. We have members of the executive. We have Sylvia. We have Michelle. They don't play pan, but they are equally important to the successes of the Euphonium Steel Orchestra. As the players are at the forefront and they get in the limelight. Mm-hmm. And that is expected. So you know what he says about Sion Hill? Teamwork make the dream more. And that's what we are. Yeah. You understand? And I'll say, and I'll say it again, we are the United States of Sion Hill. Who want to take the United States of Sion Hill? We made up of Mala Village, Top Village, Bottom Village, Roseau, Walvaroo, Main Road, London Street, Chance, but we have a federation, but we look after our states, and our states look after us. Right. Yeah. Sion Hill, remember that. Unity, strength. Darky, remember what was our motto? Tell them about the motto.
The full wording of it, I
can't remember.
I don't remember.
But it's tantamount to say unity, strength. Understand? And Darky actually said it, but what Bumi did is kind of pull it apart, because all of that had to one commitment. But he gave it different ingredients. So, if you are listening to me wherever, Sion Hill youth, Euphonium, oldsters, youngsters, those to come, because remember we are celebrating our culture and preserving our future. So those are still to come. You have a proud organization here named the Euphonium Steel Orchestra. And I am proud of Euphonium Steel Orchestra. Warren, I'm also proud of what you have done. Darky, as a founding member, still with the band, giving you all, I salute you.
Anything you want to add? Alright. Now, let me say good night to persons who tuned in to Kankadi Radio. Remember, we're also streaming live on STV Online as well as Bay Hill News Network. Just to share some historical facts with you, right? We already shared the inception of the summer program, 1995. There's the hat trick that was won by the junior orchestra, at the junior panorama level between 2003 to 2005. There's also the 6 consecutive wins by the senior panorama between 2009 up until 2014. 7 junior panorama titles in all, 9 senior panorama titles in all. I know that there's more that can be added by other members of the panel, but I'm asking for me this next question. how did we come about with the rivalry between Sion Hill Euphonium and Starleaf? I want to know. I'm asking for me. How did that begin? How did we get there? I mean, for persons who well into it, I mean, for some it might be friendly rivalry, but I know that there are times when it got more serious than that.
Yes.
What happened?
Well, you know, the greatest rivalries throughout history, the greatest rivalries comes from the best of friends.
Right, that's why I'm looking at it.
And I mean, Starleaf is one of the organizations that Kaba was talking about, the bands that would come to the Panyard anytime we're going to, and Starleaf was always there. That's part of the reason why Josiah became, when we were scrounging around for an arranger, we did not want to go for another band's top arranger, but because of the friendship, Josiah became our arranger. And it is that kind of friendship and that love to see the art form go forward that made Sion Hill and Starleaf the very close friends. But then I don't think anything went wrong. It's just that when you are a proud person, then you would like to keep your image intact all through. And if anything happens that takes away something from that image, there would be a kind of reaction that probably does not appear to be the best. But I trace it back to that good friends have variant thinking on the goal that is in front of us, and is who approach the goal the better in the moment that is going to get the glory. It's all about getting the glory, and I think that's where it's at. I don't think there is the rivalry will get to that point where a fellow would want to do something very vicious. I don't think it will get to that.
Okay. You want to share? Kaba, you want to share?
Now you say.
Okay.
You're the youngest one.
I would say.
Yeah, let's say Tila.
Basically, like you make it sound kind of nice.
Yeah,
I want to make it sound nice. You understand?
There must be
I want to say
Well,
something.
it has to be something that I don't know.
Yeah. From my experience, when I signed in the phone, I just started to come to Panama. We couldn't even come fifth. Every year in Panama, you go on stage with Boston and we couldn't finish with song. And,
Okay.
And then when I started arranging the band, became second.
Okay.
And then everything changed. Started to threatened now because I signed behind them.
From fifth to second.
You understand?
That's huge.
And it's like every year we on the footstep, knocking. You know, and then it don't get easy for a band just come out of where they come from and start with a top band, and you know, all the years when I Panama was 20th century and signing no community I started going belong just so. You understand? So it started to threaten nowadays the way we started to come in, you know. It started to threaten because signing was kind of a nobody. You know, and then signers come from fifth and then come quite second behind me. 1 point, 2 points every year.
Right.
You know, after it started threatening, they still to Panama, jump back in, still to jump back in. Because sign him. Because sign him on the hill, understand? So, you know, and you get to come in there, but you know, we ain't gonna sign it for an enemy. All the bands are good, we come to us, start come to our function every year and play. You know, for our panjamboree and stuff. And we cool, you know, none of them guys come and do us cool, everybody cool. But you know, it's kinda hard, a man come no way and beat you 6 times on a straight. It ain't easy to accept. You understand what I mean? So it kinda really, yeah, it's hard to accept. It was me, I'd feel the same way, you know. A man come no way and come beat you 6 times on a straight, nah man. I can accept that. That's right, I understand. But all we in a much rivalry, we just have to look at it on Panama on the stage. After that, we go again.
Okay. All right. Good.
I think the rivalry goes beyond Pan because you bear the name Sion here, not just Pan. So, netball, football, cricket,
Athletics.
anytime you hear Sion Hill, I used to go in park as a youngster and football playing, and everybody coming to bet against Sion Hill, and that was the thing. And this is why I always instill in the players that you have to work twice as hard if you're Sion Hill in order to beat your opponent, because you have to leave space for all the little cheating and all of that. So go beyond every reason.
Are you saying that there were times when you had to question
Of course.
the results? The times when you had to question the final decision by the adjudicators? That's what you say?
There were many times we had to question the results. Many times. And not only Sion Hill alone. Have many times potential with kick dust. Thinking, well, you know, we beat them outright, and only to hear the results that Salif would have won. So, as I'm saying, it goes beyond the Pan, but where Pan is concerned, there was a lot of rivalry start building from the junior panorama. Yes, from the junior panorama itself. I think until I bust on the scene, until I won that hat-trick, and Salif fighting to win back, I figured this is a new band and they shouldn't be beating us. And then we got parents involved because nobody wanted to lose. Nobody wanted to lose, and this kind of got out of hand every time you have a junior panorama competition. And whether Salif win or Sion Hill win, there was always some kind of cussing inside the park. But the parents, not the children, the parents. Parents got so involved. This one saying you cheat, this one saying you other cheat, and at times it reached close to getting physical. Yes, so it started with the juniors, and I think it escalated somewhat with the seniors, because I remember I used to always go in the park as the leader of the organization. I remember my good friend John Hines. We have Panorama night. Every time he sees me, he says, "Warren, just assume your position. You know you're number 2. You can't beat that." And I endured that for years. And it's not until 2009 he started to pat me on my back. He stopped saying anything when Salif lose for senior Panama for the first time. And if you should have mentioned a point, if there were instances where we figured that we were cheated, I think, for me, I think Tilal's best year as a senior ranger was in 2004. We came down. I could have seen from Salif and that they had one of the smallest side that year. Like they barely forced to come. They couldn't really come the force that we knew they normally come with. And we believe in our heart when we don't play. We believe in our heart without a doubt that we would have won this man, and only to hear the results called and this band got the top position. So that year, from there, right, I really felt that we need to do something. And by me being the leader for Sion Hill Euphonium, and the amount of work that we were doing, Sion Hill Euphonium, we were very vibrant. Playing in all, at one point they used to call us the government band, because we used to play by all the functions. People just loved the vibe that Sion Hill Euphonium used to bring. We used to play almost every week. Downtown we played by Richie, we played by Selwyn Bar. Every time the government has a function, they would call the band and the band would go. When Glenn Jackson was alive, we couldn't get peace. He used to be calling us all the time. Sion Hill Euphonium, you have to be there. You have to be there. And we were equal to the task going to perform. But the thing is that our organization has grown so strong and confident in what you are doing. You know, sometimes when you're too proud, people don't really like you. And I think that is the thing. We start getting words coming across sometimes between the bands. Some of them guys even go on social media and escalate this whole rivalry thing. So Starlift in itself been winning. Well, they won the most panorama in St. Vincent, and they've been winning for a long time. And I, as the president, and I was also the leader, I was the president of the movement for 10 years. I became the president in 2003, and my last year I resigned in 2013 when I left to go into my master's degree. I realized that it's difficult to win the senior panorama competition with the pool of judges that we have in St. Vincent. That is me, coming from me. And after we had this pool of judges and we'd give people a chance to choose this judge for this year and that judge for this year for PAN. And people would reject, say, I don't want this one, I don't want that one. I thought it fit. So, well, let's bring in some neutral judges. Judges for outsource, yes. And we started with two distinguished musicians, adjudicators in Trinidad, Miss Jocelyn Seeley and Miss Morley Cotto. And we start bringing these judges from 2007. 2007, Starlift did not take part in the senior panorama competition, and Rhythmix won that year. 2008, Starlift came back into the competition while we have the same two judges, and Starlift won that year. Well, we have decided from European movement level that we'd bring two foreign judges for 2 years, then we'd switch and bring a different two because we don't want people to get too comfortable with them. Then we brought 3 judges this time, 3 different judges in 2009, and Sion Hill won from there, 2009. And I could recall, as president, one of the same adjudicators in Trinidad called me back after the panorama and cussed me. She said, you got what you want. You got what you want, didn't you? When she heard that Sion Hill won, she called me back and told me that. I never mentioned that before. You got what you want. So as if we in a competition not to win. And I stopped actually playing after I became president in 2003. My last year as a player was 2005 because it was conflicting. I didn't want it to really conflict as a player and still the president. So I decided, well, I would hold off from the playing and focus more on managing Sion Hill and being the president of the European movement. And I was it got me thinking what the lady would have said. But I threw it aside. I never really mentioned it because I didn't want it to create. I thought I always see her as a professional. And from 2009 onwards, Sion Hill started winning up until 2014, and not with the same judges, because the three that we brought, they adjudicate for 2009, 2010. Then we switch again, bring another set of judges, 2011, 2012, and we keep switching. So they couldn't say that any of the judges are affiliated to Sion Hill in any way.
All right. Abba, anything you want to add on there? You have 15 minutes before we wrap up.
Well, I am by nature pacifist. Yeah, I'm a peacemaker, and while the rivalry exists, it's not healthy for rivalry that could graduate into near violence. So we have to put a stop to that. We have to arrest it. We have to be mature enough. And when I say we, I mean both Euphonium and Star-Based Matter. I'm hearing here. But we can all be the bigger persons and extend the olive leaf to persons no. I can only speak. I'm not part and parcel of the engine room of Euphonium. But as I said, I hope that for the good of fun, for the good of relationship, for the good of humans, that there could be some resolution to this matter.
Like I was just saying, we have about 15 more minutes before we wrap up. Before we go further, I want to give recognition to former Minister of Health here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, former area representative for East Kingstown, former Senator Luke Brown, a Sion Hill man as well. Good night, sir. Thank you for joining us. All right. Well, he's in the midst with us. Now, Kaba, I want to direct this one to you. The Pan Against Crime initiative that came on stream, I think it was 2001, around there, was it? Around that time? Later?
2008.
8? Where did I get one? Okay, but you know, the mission behind that was to use Pan as an avenue to deter persons who were involved in crime and criminal activities. And you know, as much as the Sion Hill community can boast of the various successes as it relates to whether it is academic accolades or sporting personalities or what, the community is also affected by crime and criminal activities. Do you see Pan being a deterrent that can play a role? Do you see Pan as a way out for persons, especially young persons? Do you see Pan as an income earner? Because a lot of times we don't pay attention to that aspect of becoming involved in the playing of the steel pan. Do you see Pan even as a career for some persons? I mean, the mission here is to encourage more persons to become involved, but
let me
see that?
Yeah, let me answer this way, yes. Pan could certainly be a deterrent. Because there's a saying, the devil in idle hands. The devil always finds more for idle hands. Yes. And when we talk about the devil, we take off the D and we say we get evil. Right. So we know that criminality is associated with everything. It doesn't mean that if you play Pan, it won't be a criminal. A criminal comes in all forms. But when you are gainfully occupied, it helps. And if you have but you see again, you need the right structures, you need the right support system. Because playing a Pan where you don't have a proper system where a person can support you, because we all have problems. I'm not a psychologist, but we all wired differently. And if as a teacher you understand that how persons learn, how persons react, they will react to different things. So that I can say. What I can say about Pan Against Crime is that Pan Against Crime has resulted in the popularity of Pan. More persons playing Pan, more steel orchestras. That is quite evident. I do have the data, I do have the data, the government will have data, and they can make an assessment. Can pan be a career? Of course it can be, but it's a daunting task. One could point readily to Rodney Small. Even though he is not a full-time panist, he has made money from pan. He has turned steel extraction into a business. We now have him, we have to give him kudos. He now has an academy. John Baptiste flies trade internationally. But what can be challenging is the number, the percentage, the minuscule percent of person who will succeed as a panist. That person, that's why persons gravitate towards a job that can pay them a permanent job. But if we were to create the environment where persons can see more artists being successful, a call was made this morning by Rodney to introduce pan as a core subject in the school curriculum, and that can help. But first of all, we have to change the culture, the mindset of persons. We could talk about all these glorious achievements. We could speak about achieving goals. But if persons don't see tangible benefits, they would not gravitate in droves towards pan as a career. So we'll have to ensure that the environment is conducive. But certainly, because pan alone here, and that's something that's happened to people here. We speak about football, people think about footballers. Pan is not playing pan alone here. Pan is concerned with pan. Pan is if you are a pan builder. Pan is if you are an arranger. Pan is if you are a music teacher. But I suspect that you meant the playing of pan. Yes, you can make a career of it, but the reality is, it is daunting.
Okay. Thank you.
I was going to say, just to add a little to what Kaba just said, and to relate more directly to your question. Pan Against Crime, as far as Sion Euphonium is concerned, is Pan Against Crime initiative is kind of late, and this is what I mean. At the start, in those formative years of the band, we did not have a constitution, but we had what we call operational guidelines, and it is spelled out in those guidelines that the band is there to find a space for the idle hands, something to that effect, to be a counter to the thought of criminal activity. Our guidelines spells that out. So, unfortunately, Pan Against Crime is kind of late in that sense, and I think it has worked for the community by and large. I think the presence of the band and of course the sports has turned quite a few youngsters away from taking the wrong path.
That's about the Pan Against Crime Committee. Well, not the committee, but the Pan Against Crime to me started from my knowledge with Dougie Nose Joseph. He was the one who came up with the idea and said, I'm playing pan back in the days, there's no pan man in jail. A pan man had to make trouble, a yard in the pan yard. And that was Dougie's idea when in 2000, I think it's 6 or 7, when he came up with the idea to go to the Pan Against Crime thing with the farm, right? Dougie Nose's idea. But concerning the career out of pan, I was talking about the culture and the industry to change. That's one very important thing, because in Trinidad and Tobago, pan men don't work. They pan for living. You understand what I mean? That they're living, they don't work basically. You understand? But in Susan and Grenadines, the industry is so small and people not really want to, certain things. Just the culture not really for that at the moment. That's why even musicians here have to work still, because they can't get a proper thing for the whole thing. But in terms of my experience in Pan Fiji for 30 years playing steel pan, I could say proudly, steel pan gave me more of what I've earned than my job. I will serve family because that's what in signing Euphonium.
Testimony.
Because we have been playing Young Island from since 2005 until 2018. Every Saturday in the year, we play Young Island, and our band give a little stipend to the players when they play.
Right.
Gigs and stuff, and and we have also a careers cruise gig. We go from Kingston to Leeward Coast and back. So like, when ship is here, is one play and come back.
To generate
and we still playing Deckway, we playing, in different parts of the country, different hotels and back dinners, walk dinners, So it can be a form of income for many people. I can tell you, it kept me for years, because when I wasn't working at my job now, I was living off in the meantime. I just done finishing school, I wasn't really working, so.
Yes. Come on, just.
For me,
I was around a very long time, so I would have a lot of information inside. Sometimes you don't bring them out. Benefits from PAN hinge a lot, as was alluded to before, on the environment. And Tilal mentioned some of the different areas, and not just PAN alone, culture as a whole, because this is how we see people, this is how we see culture in this country. Whether you are Calypsonian, whether you are artist, whether you are PAN man, we don't see this as one of the big jobs like being a lawyer or a doctor and things of this sort. We wouldn't tell a child to go to school and major in dance, or major in art, or major in PAN. So it's a mindset here, and we have to create the environment for these things. We are in an age where we said we have an education revolution. Well, we want to see this. We want to see this in PAN as well. We want to see this helping people in PAN and all the different arts. I often look at or listen to the budget every year, and when it comes to the Department of Culture, always the smallest money. Always the smallest money. Why? This is how we look at it. They look at it from there, from how they look at the PAN and culture as itself, as a whole. There are so many young people that can get involved in this area if we would only put some more funds and good structured programs together, so that people would be interested in getting a career in this particular area. The hotels coming in stream, we need to tell them up front, because they do it in other countries. Look, you need to hire a band in this area. You need to hire a band, you need to have a soloist, you need to get people involved in some way in the arts. Why can't we have an entertainment program? I remember when Bukama started for the first time, they came with an entertainment program, but because of other reasons they couldn't sustain it. So this is the direction that we want to see the hotel industry and all the industry of culture as a whole to go forward. We have seen in other countries, like St. Martin's. I've seen our very own Natalie Bristol and her husband running a very effective program in St. Martin's. As soon as you come off the cruise ship, they have a particular area where the tourists can go and learn to play something, a crash course, or you take some photos or things of that sort. They are gainfully employed from PAN. That is their job. In Trinidad, we have a university where music is, you could further your study in music at UTT. Where are the the help and the assistance and the programs that would lead us to go and get a degree in music. And we are not seeing this coming out. We have to see this coming out of the Department of Culture. Tell the research people, go out and look for the information. We want to see these programs coming out from the Ministry of Culture. I've always wondered over the years when I look at Tilal, for instance, is a good pan man. Jason is a good pan man. But where are they working? Are they working in the Ministry of Culture? Are they placed in a position where they could go and teach pan in school? Tilal in transport and works. Jason by careers. Square peg, wrong hole. If you could use that term here. Yeah. We need to get people into areas where their strengths could be utilized. And we are not seeing that, and I am making that call that from high up come down, that we should put structures in place that people who are musically inclined or want to get into the arts, whether dance or whether art or whether pan, that there would be programs in place for them to go to utilize. And I am also calling for these hotels to have a proper entertainment package so that the locals or the people involved in the culture and the arts could be gainfully employed there. With regards to the Pan Against Crime, I was the president of the Yulu Pan movement when that program was launched, and I welcomed the program and was a part of it and was getting involved in helping to organize our bands whenever they have, because the first phase was awareness. So you go in the different communities and you get you let people hear pan and be able to digest it and fall in love with it. So that was the first phase. I didn't think they got off the first phase. It was still on the first phase of awareness. And my problem is that I didn't see it going any further, because you can't put a civil servant who is focused on balancing the books and getting the figures right to manage something like a product like Pan Against Crime going forward. You understand? And it ran into problems. I think it's a good initiative, but it created division between our bands. For instance, my role on that committee was to organize the bands to play at the different functions. And as the program rolled out and it continues, I realized that we're having a Pan Against Crime function next week, and the Yulu Pan movement not informed. And then we're hearing a steel band is played in a particular area. When I did my research, get to find out now that the persons who are managing the program circumventing the Yulu Pan movement, going to the bands directly and offer them different sets of money to perform. So they eliminated the Yulu Pan movement more or less. And so with that now, I would have stopped going to meetings, and that was the problem with it. It was not so much the program itself, because it was a good initiative, but the persons who were managing it wasn't doing it well. And also, anytime you involve money in something of culture, and you start giving one set and giving another set, then you run into problems. I observe as well that if they're having a function at Chatibelair, or if they're having a function in Georgetown, we would find ourselves there and to get things to organize, make sure that Pan is being heard. But then I get to understand now that the persons who are involved, who are going out there, were getting paid from the start. And I, as a representative and a part of this organization, didn't know anything about it. So you can't pay some and not pay the others. You understand? And so it had problems there. So that is why European movement withdrew. But people misinterpret it and try to make an issue with it and said that, oh, Mr. Knight was against the Pan Against Crime initiative. And before I have to bring forward this point, even in Sion Hill, down in the road, so we had a Pan Against Crime function down there. Sion Hill has a vibrant steel band and was not even informed that a function was happening, a Pan Against Crime function happening there. They bring bands from outside down there.
Okay. Before we wrap up, before I give you the opportunity to share your final thoughts, let me say thank you to everyone. I mean, there are other members of the committee. I want to say thank you, for being involved in the formalizing of the event decks, super decks in the crowd there. Thank you to all the lovely ladies, the force behind the scenes. Always there once a side Euphonium. They've always been there. Thank you to Monty and his team, Bay Hill News Network, Steve and his team, STV Online, Kankadi Radio as well. Let me remind you of the list of activities that would continue throughout the rest of 2021. Coming up on March 24th, there will be, all being well, we know what's happening and we're somewhat in limbo with the impending volcanic eruption at La Soufrière, but hopefully, all being well, May 24th, there's the Whit Monday Fun Walk. On August 2nd, there's hopefully a beach splash, Sion Hill Bay. Right. In September, there's the summer program, graduation that is. In October, there's the beauty pageant, Queen of Steel. All right. You'll find out more about the events as time go by. In November, we have the Sports and Games Day, and in December, a grand Pan concert. Like I said, you'll find out more about the respective activities as time go by. Gentlemen, final thoughts?
Go ahead.
Anyone? Briefly.
I am happy. I am quite happy and pleased for this opportunity to share information on Sion Euphonium, a band that we would have grown to love and a band that would have made a lot of contribution to our community and to Pan in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I would want to see our summer program be accredited at some point. I would want to see more jobs being organized for people in the culture and the arts, and I would love to, our band Sion Euphonium to go from strength to strength, and we hope that people patronize all of our activities that are listed on the program.
Hold it in your hand.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. When we wanted to name Sion Hill, give it a name, we wanted to associate Sion Hill with something pleasant. And one recognizes when you hear you, like euphonics, pleasant song, and eulogy is a pleasant person. And that's why we came to the name Euphonium. I guess I'm a little more superficial, but that's how we came to Sion Euphonium Steel Orchestra, because there's a steel orchestra named Sion Euphonics somewhere in Trinidad or somewhere. I say this because by nature we believe in pleasantness. We have survived 40 years. We are here this year celebrating our group anniversary. It has not been a bed of roses. Like every other activity and experiences, our journey, we have had ebbs and flows, we have seen hills and we have seen the valleys, but we have survived. We have gone through rough times and we have seen successes, and it has made us all stronger. And it has made us all stronger because we banded ourselves together as people from Sion Hill. And I don't want persons to believe that we're discriminating, because indeed there are persons outside of the Sion Hill community who have been members of Sion Euphonium. Yes. But we are proud Silelians, but we embrace all who want to come and help to develop our product, help to make Sion Euphonium a better organization, and by extension the community, our beloved community of Sion Hill, or should I say the United States of Sion Hill, and by extension St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We are dedicated to ensure that Sion Hill grows from strength to strength. And I want to take this opportunity to implore persons to listen out as we unfold our activities, because it's something we have to take into context the prevailing conditions. One, COVID. Yes, we have a level of control over that based on the science, because we can be vaccinated based on what some doctor says. But certainly, we have absolutely no control over nature. And I pray in all sincerity that Last Prayer does not Europe exclusively. The most we can do if it does is mitigate. Again, that's all we can do. Put measures in place. We cannot stop it from erupting. We can only mitigate it with the fallout. Once again, I want to thank the viewers, wherever you are, for taking your precious time to listen to these four gentlemen on the panel and your moderator. I want to thank those in the audience. We love you. We know what you have done in terms of contributing to the success of Sion Hill. And we ask you, and we know that you'll continue to support the Sion Euphonium Steel Orchestra. Once again, thank all who are listening, all who are viewing us. Have a good night.
We have completed 40. It has not been the most pleasant of journeys, but there were many moments of real ecstasy and real pleasant feelings and thinking. We have joined a short list, the list isn't long, of cultural organizations who have enjoyed being around continuously for 40 years. And to find those organizations, you have to look to like the Kingston Chorales, Starlift, the New Artist Movement, and I don't think the list goes much further than there, who have been going on a continuous basis for 40 years. It's a very elite club, and I hope we use that experience to propel us into the future. But the future cannot be what we are thinking it could be if the steel band, if the steel pan in St. Vincent continues to linger at the bottom of the heap as it apparently is around this time. Sometimes the last people to get consideration, we heard tonight that culture is literally the last department to be assigned to somewhere. We have seen it happen in this country already, where culture was not assigned to a ministry for nearly 3 months. And then somebody remembered that and said, oh, but we didn't put culture away, so put them over there. That, to me, is a form of discrimination. And we are at a position now where PAN is at that same level. So my call tonight would be for us to live on the laurels that are there for us to live on, but that we must always remember that cooperation is the best way of moving forward. That would be my message for the steel band, not just Sion Hill Euphonium. Yes, we have to look after ourselves, but that the steel band is at a very low ebb in St. Vincent, and we need to be able to encourage others to cooperate a little bit deeper. That is my message going forward.
I would like to say a heartfelt thank you for the Sion Hill Euphonium Steel Orchestra to give me the opportunity to play the band and to be in the the second arranger, in-house arranger for the band, because Tifford was the first. And I was Sion Hill Euphonium. I don't know where I would have been. I might have been, on a different road. But I really want to thank the orchestra for giving me the opportunity to do what I did today, what I'm doing now, and I really love doing it. And I want to thank all the parents who send the children to Pan every time to practice, it's really important. And thank all the supporters, because I know when Sion Hill go Panorama, it's like Sion Hill Village empty. Whole of Sion Hill going park. When Sion Hill ain't go Panorama, park empty. So Sion Hill have to go Panorama every year. And I must say, since the band have launched in 1981, Sion Hill Euphonium have never missed a Panorama. And it's also a milestone for us. And I also want to say, from my point of view, I think and I believe that Sion Hill Euphonium Steel Orchestra have trained some of the best players in this country and some of the strongest players in this country. Because I've seen it myself. You go train hard for Panorama and learn their Panorama song in 3, 4, 5 days. Preliminaries, and much more people in St. Vincent can do that, believe you me. It's very difficult, and Trinidad come and play with us, and we give them 3 weeks to learn our song. And they got 1 week to learn their song. To tell how good our players really are. And I really want to thank all the members of Sion Hill Euphonium for the good work we're doing. Continue to work hard, and you want to get stronger and stronger every day. Thank you, have a good night.
So once again, thank you to everyone, those of you who came out in the audience, those of you who viewed us online, whether via STV Online or Bay Hill News Network, those of you who tuned in via Kankani Radio. Thank you once again, and wishing the rest of the team and the entire structure, the Sion Hill Euphonium Steel Orchestra, much success and another 40 years in the future. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you.